So,
that was a good crack too.
That would be the.
That needs to be in the video.
cheers. Oh, that's the way we're gonna start this video.
Crack nice?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Just
I think that
pretend it
starts
did.
the video. I think this is a hazy interview.
Yeah, and Diet Coke.
And Diet Coke.
Man, I should have had a hazy too.
I am sitting here with the amazing Sofie Lynn, and we are in somewhere near Columbia, South Carolina. We are at Fort Shaw
Air Force Base.
Air Force Base, and we've just done a show. I was playing with Vertical Horizon, and Sofie was playing solo. Now here's one of the amazing things, and I want to dig in right away. Sofie went out there and for 90 minutes played the majority of her own material, and through the rain.
In the pouring rain.
In the pouring rain. Halfway through the set, it started pouring. Did you back up a little bit? Or
A tiny bit, but
tiny
it
bit.
was getting me.
And she was getting wet, and she kept going. Now here's the interesting thing. The crowd was so enamored with her music that because it started raining, it actually cooled down a bit. And I watched people come forward in the rain as opposed to standing there in the sun, and the rain deterred nobody because they wanted to hear Sofie play. So, for anyone who's a musician or appreciates music or anything like that, you have to understand, number one, how difficult it is to perform for 90 minutes. Number two, how difficult it is to keep anybody's attention for 90 minutes. Number three, how difficult it is, and this is the most important one, to keep anyone's attention for 90 minutes with your own material. And that's where we want to go with Sofie, because obviously, Sofie, you know it, you're in Nashville. There's thousands of really talented singers. There's thousands of really talented players. And that's everywhere. I mean, you can walk into any karaoke bar in the world and hear an amazing singer. I mean, that's not it, you know. But to do what Sofie did for 90 minutes and keep probably 1,000, maybe 1,500, almost 2,000 people enamored for 90 minutes in the heat and the rain, she had to write great songs. And that's what I want to talk about right now.
Well,
Sofie Lynn.
Oh, that was such a great intro. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was a little nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking to start, to go into that show, only because, yes, 90 minutes original material, but also just me and my acoustic. I was like,
that's the other thing. She did it solo. Now, anyone who knows me and knows my history knows that I've done, I can't even count how many solo acoustic tour supporting albums around the world. And it's difficult. And that's one of the things that made me really want to bring Sofie to your attention and interview her, because I know how hard it is and so difficult. Especially when, it's a July 4th kind of crowd. They're here to party.
Oh, yeah.
And she's, one young lady and a guitar. But I got to go out front for a little bit, and it sounded amazing because she has great pitch. She's a great guitar player. Now, that's the other thing. You sometimes on the road, you meet a lot of young singers. They sing great, can't tune the guitar, play terrible guitar, and the two are a mismatch. You have it both going on. So tell us a little bit about how that skill set developed. Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always loved writing songs. I think my first ever song was something, the word swag I thought was really interesting when I was growing up. So I wrote a terrible song. It was my first ever song, and it was like, swag, swag, that's what you say when you take me out to dinner and you can't even pay. Like,
oh my
just
God.
terrible,
That's
terrible,
awesome.
terrible. But I do feel
it's
like
clever, though.
that, yeah.
Clever.
That word's coming back around too. It's really weird.
It is, yeah.
I just feel like that was kind of like the jump start into like just me realizing that like people write their own music, like I never even knew that growing up. I just sing along to the songs, and I did a lot of musical theater. But when I really started diving into the writing world though was when my grandma passed away. I was going to school actually to be a nurse at the time.
Okay.
And I had done music all my life, but I was just not sure if it was for me anymore. And my grandma did not like that. She was like, "What do you mean you're not going to do music anymore?"
Aww.
And so while I was there, she passed away, and all I could do was write music about just like how sad I was and like how much she meant to me. And so that really got me into writing. And then fast forward, and I moved to Nashville. And like you said, there's just tons of people in Nashville. So many creative people, so many people that just want to get in the same room with you and just want to write, you know, which is so, I moved from LA, and LA, it definitely has that, you know, a lot of talented people, like you said, but it didn't have that sense of community like I found in Nashville.
No.
And so that really just got me, I just really dived right in. I was thankful. I'm so thankful I moved there with my husband, and now husband. At the time, he was my fiance. And we moved together, and he was really just like, go for it. And so I went for it, and I every day just got in a new session with like new people, and started really finding the people that I click with, and just like feel, you know, you find people that just are like your vibe, and we call it like the Nashville class, I guess. So I found like my class, and hopefully we all graduate at the same time and move up together. But yeah, that's what got me into writing, and it's just really where my heart is. I love performing, I love meeting people and meeting y'all and everything. But really, I do think that music, it starts with the song. You know?
Definitely.
So,
well, that was the thing. I mean, obviously, I've come across a lot of talented singers, and you're obviously a very talented singer. Great pitch, great skill.
Thank you.
Just really, really well done show. But it was the songs. She has songs, and she has a lot of them, because I mean, I only heard one cover in the set. But you might have done a couple more, because in 90 minutes I would have done a ton of covers. What would you have had? How many did you do?
I did a few. I like to mix them in, and I also like to do a few like mashup ones too, where I go from like my original into a cover.
Yeah, that's
you
awesome.
know, and
that's great.
Just to keep people's attention, because I know I like to also structure my show as like how I would like to see it as a consumer, and I wouldn't want to sit there and just hear like songs that I've never heard before, you know. So I do try to mix them in pretty good, but I'd say it's
anyone looking to do this, that's the path. What she just described is how you keep a show going for 90 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still figuring my show out, you know. I feel like it's always like ebb and flowing. You're like, oh, that song hits everybody, and that song does not. So it really changes.
Well, you know, 40 years down the road, we're still figuring that out. Mark Prater's back over there, by the way. He's in the corner. Anyone that knows the channel knows that Mark and I have been doing this together for years. 1 or 2 years. Anyway. So.
Well, y'all put on a killer show tonight too.
Thank you.
I feel like I just need to brag on y'all for a second too, because it was something special. I was out there in the audience just taking notes, like how can I make my show better, just by like copying these guys a little bit, you know, like.
Matt is such a brilliant performer.
Yeah, all of you guys are, and your dynamic on stage, it just felt like so electric.
Did it good.
And the sound killed it.
Mark was mixing us.
Yeah.
Mark is typically behind a drum kit, but he's also a recording engineer and our front of house engineer.
It was awesome. Great show.
I've been dragging Mark into things like this for forever. For a long time.
Forever. You just hear him in the back.
All right, so you came out of LA. You didn't really start writing songs until you were in nursing school, so you would have been in your late teens.
Yeah, it must have been right after I graduated high school, so around 18, 19.
Wow, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
But you dove in.
I did, yeah. I just feel like it wasn't even like that I wanted to, it was like I had to, you know. It was one of those things where I just was pouring my heart and my soul, and then that's when I started really getting into it and seeing what makes a good song, you know, because I feel like it's one thing to write from where your passion is from, and I think that always needs to be there, like that authentic side of it. Sorry. It's probably my husband. But that, you know, you need to write from an authentic side to it, but there's also such an art to it.
There's such an art and science to it. Well, it's the art and science of storytelling. And Mark and I both work with an ex-Green Beret who his mission in life is if you know anything about the Green Berets, they have to go into an area with 12 guys and turn a whole community to work with them. And it's through the art of storytelling is how they really make human connections, right? So he does deep work into the science. And, you know, he goes beyond the art of storytelling into the science of storytelling, which was one of the things that drew me to your ability to keep a crowd and keep people listening to your stories that have never heard you before, never seen you before, only knew your name, right? How do you do that? Well, you're telling great stories, and so when you discuss, you know, developing that art and science beyond that initial, like the thing that triggered, like there's usually a life trigger. For me, it was the loss of you know, divorce and all that kind of stuff. really pushed me over the edge into writing.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, the loss of your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
But that trigger, it pushes you into something that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have to do this, how do I stay alive at it? How do I make a living at it? How do I become a journeyman?
Yeah.
So I had two paths. I had the guitar side and I had the songwriting side. And then, man, I was almost 30 before I started singing. I was just a lead guitarist for many years.
Wow.
And then I kept pushing after that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're obviously a great singer. When did you start playing guitar? Because one of the things I noticed in your YouTube videos and on stage, but really in your YouTube videos, is the twists and turns in some of your compositions with your guitar playing skill was really, really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I started playing guitar. My parents threw me into guitar lessons probably in like middle school. I don't even know how old are you at that point.
I think you're 13.
Yeah, 13, must have been. And I really only asked my parents to put me in guitar lessons because I wanted to write songs. That was right around when I did that swag song.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, so I got into guitar lessons for that. And then my skill really just developed from playing out. I feel like the best thing that you can do for your craft is just do it, And so was I ready when I took those first couple gigs with me and my guitar? Hell no.
No. No, you just said a very key thing, and that's something I really want to emphasize. There's so many gigs that people will turn down. There's so many things that people will turn down. You just said, was I ready? No.
No.
Scott always says, we call it the tap. When you feel the tap on your shoulder, and an opportunity comes up, you felt the tap. Am I ready? Nope, I'm just going in.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yep.
That is huge.
And it was, scary. It's scary to take that leap, but I feel like if I wouldn't have said yes, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to play the stuff like what you're saying. And but it really just developed from writing songs and figuring out, like, there was a point in my life where I was writing songs to the same 4 chords, which is amazing.
It's 4 chords made a million.
Right, so, exactly. But I was wanting just a little. I was wanting just a little bit more, And I feel like that's when you start diving into figuring out your sound and like trying to find different chords that like people haven't heard before.
Your right hand rhythmically on the guitar is really interesting at times. You were so the PA was a massive PA with a big bunch of low end, and depending on where you were listening, you could hear Sofie using the guitar almost as a drum a little bit, rhythmically.
Very percussive, yeah.
Very percussive.
They call it like golpes in like a golpa or a golpe in classical music.
Golpe.
You're tapping the guitar.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I felt a lot of that. You're doing it whether you know it or not.
Yeah, rhythmically.
Cool.
And it's great because it was a massive PA with big subs. So when she would, smack the guitar and add a little rhythm to it, and went, it was really cool. But I also noticed it in your YouTube video, and I can't remember the song. It was the last song that you did, and I think you recorded it on your cell phone. Please tell me the name of that song.
Name Dropper.
Name Dropper, that's right. Okay. So you're sitting there in this little doorway.
Yeah.
And even Mark said it. Well, Mark was like, oh God, there's a lot of twists and turns in that tune. And so this is one of her last songs. So that's a developed skill. All right, so she had to develop that skill. She had to do a lot of gigs. She had to do a lot of sessions.
Definitely.
But it's cool because she's in Nashville where you're around people that are, and I always hate to use the word better than you, but let's say different than you.
No, but it's
so you're
true.
exposed to a lot of techniques.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Well, I think there's definitely people better than me in Nashville, and I think that's like
there's
what
people
makes
better than all of us in Nashville.
But that's you always have to have people better than you though, because who's going to push you to be better? So that's a part of why I love Nashville.
I am a consumer of YouTube channels, and many of the YouTube channels that I consume are based out of Nashville. Tom Bukovac is one of my, anyway. Your friend, the recording engineer, I was already subscribed to him.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Colt Caparoon.
We'll plug
him. He's so great.
He's great. Yeah, I already had him. I was like, she's telling me this Colt guy. And I'm like, sounds familiar. I'm like going to my YouTube. I'm like, I already watched that guy's videos.
Yeah.
So there's always somebody out there.
And you mentioned a really important part too of like just developing your craft. it's one thing to be so super passionate about it, but it's another thing to try to make a living at it.
Yes.
Know?
I'm glad you got to that, because one of the things we discussed at dinner last night was I'm always fascinated by people that are able to continue doing a career. How do you survive? How do you live in Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
So you and your husband are obviously on the same mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have figured out a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, like the old Bob Lefsetz quote that I think I shared with you, you know, it's not about the mansion, it's about the life. Mm-hmm. It's about being able to create and make a living and earn a living and have a life creating. Mm-hmm. You're obviously on that path, and it's obviously working. So, and that's part of this channel, because I'm just had a birthday and I've been doing this a very long time. And I've had to do so many different things. And I don't think anyone realizes how hard it is to do what you've done, right? Which is to get into the thing where you're writing all the time,
mm-hmm.
all the time.
Yeah.
Now, just this gig that we did today, this was Shaw Air Force Base. It was for a major agency, 3 bands. Sofie came here as one of the acts, so she had to have an agent. Somebody had to know that she could do the job. She had to have enough of her own material. The material had to be good enough for her to have an agent, get hired, get paid, come here and do the thing. So, any insights on how that happened?
Yeah. Well, I'm very blessed, to say the least. I have a lot of people that have just taken a chance on me, and my booking agent being one of them. So you know what? I met my booking agent through a really good friend of mine who was also with that booking agent. And all of that to be said is I feel like sometimes I forget how relationships
are everything.
This industry is.
It is all
and all
relationships,
industries, really, but the music industry specifically, I don't know that I would be sitting here right now with you if I wouldn't have been friends with my friend who introduced me to the booking agent.
Yes,
you know
it's
what
all
I mean?
relationship based.
Yeah, so...
But to exploit that relationship or to make that relationship work for you, you have to have the skill. You have to be good enough. Yes. Relationships aren't going to do it.
That's very true. And you have to be a good human too. I to my core believe that good people get good things. You
Absolutely.
know? But on the other hand, so the booking agent kind of brought me here, and that was through a mutual friend. And then I guess the other part of it is financially, just surviving.
Yes.
Would be. I write custom love songs.
Yes, that was another thing.
Yeah.
So that was something that Mark and I were talking about last night. I was fascinated with that.
Yeah.
There's been several times in my life when I've gotten from one source of income to another by doing some things, and there was a lot of times when I was doing instrumental work. I think we discussed that last night. But that kind of faded and went away, and now you're doing writing love songs for people and getting paid for it, which helps pay your bills.
Oh, yeah.
Which keeps you in Nashville, which keeps you going to those writing sessions. You were saying your writing sessions are almost every day.
Yep, just about.
So get this, almost every day, Sofie is going and meeting a group of writers and writing songs.
Isn't that awesome?
It's mind-blowing.
It's so fun.
We live in Tampa. Could that ever happen in Tampa? No.
I know. It wasn't happening for me in LA either.
Which is a shame, because LA is a place that should be happening.
Yeah, it could have been the level of where I was at in my career too. You know, when I was in LA.
LA's tough.
Yeah.
LA's weird. I lived there for 3 months. I came back.
Yeah, but I still count my blessings every day that even is happening in my life. You know,
God.
being in this place where there's so much community where people want to write like that every day. I mean, it's
mind-blowing.
It is. It's crazy that I can do that. You know?
And your skill set's just going to improve and improve and improve.
Right. And it's just so inspiring to be around creative people all the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Nashville's a crazy place.
So the love song thing you were talking about, it's a company that produces, someone will reach out to you and say, look, I have this idea. I want this love song written for somebody. You have developed the skill, not only as a singer, not only as a guitar player, but as a writer, to take someone else's vision, someone else's dream, someone else's broken heart, maybe they're or whatever. And
I get those too. The broken hearts.
The broken heart ones.
The ones that are like, please, I need to get her back.
I need to get her back.
I love those actually.
They're great.
Yeah.
That's to me. I'm sorry. That's almost the best.
Yeah.
Although every broken heart song I ever wrote, I'm glad she never came back now. I was like, thank the Lord. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. He knew all of them. And he's like, oh, dude, man, what were you
dodged a bullet on that one.
Dodged a bullet, man. I run away screaming. But it made for it was a great album.
That's fun.
There's some great albums in there.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you get paid for that. And that payment allows you to eat and live and pay the rent in Nashville, which is no easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And increase your skill set, which I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's amazing too. I feel very lucky to be able to, one, have that supplement my income, but also be able to tell people's stories, you know.
Plus, every song you write for someone else from their story, you're getting better at songwriting. Because you're able to take someone else's vision and bring that to life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's skill.
Yeah.
That's a skill. In our storytelling world, we call that narrative competence.
Oh, I haven't heard about that, but I like it.
Yeah, so
nice
like I said,
ring
at some point in the YouTube channel, I'm going to get deep into the storytelling thing and the science of it and the science behind it and this thing called narrative transportation, to where as you're singing a song or you're telling a story, if it's a good story and it's structured properly and it gets past the certain resistors that we have in the brain, it gets past those and that story becomes encapsulated in their brain, then that person that is listening to your story is narrative through the art of, or through the science of narrative transportation. They buy into your story and they become, it's almost like in the hero's journey, they become the hero of your story. And so then their experiences, their life experiences start informing the story, and through narrative transportation, it's called mental coupling, and you actually they become mentally attached to your story, and your story becomes their story.
Wow.
That's the art of narrative transportation.
Wow.
And
that's
you're very good at
it.
Right, but that's how you, without knowing the science behind it, through the art and through reps, you're doing reps, you're writing tunes, you know, you're repping it out, man. You're doing this thing. Through doing that, you're achieving that skill set.
Wow.
So this is just the science behind it.
Well, I didn't even know that was going on, but I like it.
Yeah, it's, you know, so, and that's a great thing to envision when you're on stage. Think, you know, the audience is there. I'm going to bring them in, and we're going to, you know, my story is going to become their story. You know, there's another thing in the sad songs, we call it the generosity of scars. See, you share your scar stories, and you know they don't have to be literal. But you know the scars that you have, there is a universal singular. We will all, I don't want to say suffer, but we will all have experiences that are universal to each of us. And if you are generous with your scars, then you will make connections with the people that are listening to you. And
I love that.
That's why we like sad songs.
That's powerful.
And it changes lives. You know, it makes connections to people, it changes lives.
Yeah.
And so that's why you're able to stand up there in the heat, in the rain, and singing in tune, in time, and great melodies. But then your lyrics are generating a sort of mental coupling, a narrative transportation. So that doesn't happen overnight. You obviously put a lot of work into it, and you're you know, and let's give props to your husband. You know,
definitely, he's so great, and actually, he's one of the reasons, probably the biggest reasons why I ended up in Nashville, because I was going, you know how it goes. You go back and forth to a place so many times. And I was just going back and forth. And one day he called me out of the blue, mind you, and was like, I think you need to be in Nashville. And I was like, well, what does that mean for us? He's like, no, I think we need to be in Nashville. And I was like,
that's beautiful.
I'm going to marry that man.
Yeah. You're a keeper.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a smart man. And that's, you know, look, anyone that has a dream, I'm not saying go out and find someone to take to Nashville. But whatever it, you know, there's a young guy on YouTube that's a guitar player. I'd say young, he's in his late 20s, but he's a super sharp guitar player, a young cat, But he chronicles his journey into Nashville and how he's crashing on people's floors and couches and doing all these things. And now he has an apartment he shares with a couple other guys. And I love it because it's whatever it takes. Mark and I spent many years living in vans and hotels. And I'm not talking a couple of years. I mean, we lived on, how long did we live on $10 a day?
Wow.
And we played 50 weeks a year living on $10 a day, chasing our dream. Playing 4 sets a night, 6 and 7 nights a week. And we did that for almost 11 years.
Wow.
But that's what it took. And now we have acquired a skill through doing all of that are our, let's say, later stages in life, we're still able to do it.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
Do it at what we hope is
and
a
do
high
it
level.
well. Yeah.
Do it
You guys
well.
killed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was awesome.
And so what I want people to learn from Sofie, and one of the reasons I really wanted to get Sofie on the channel was not only because her songs are so good, and I hope that you'll check out her music. So we have to get your Instagram and your YouTube. You have to state all that so we get all that.
Absolutely.
But I want you to learn what she's doing. I want you to see what she's doing because she is a true journeyman. I mean, she is out there. She's making a living at this. She is making it work with her husband. She's living in the hardest place to have a music career, Nashville, and she's making it work. And then she has an agent. She got hired. She came to this massive gig and she held all those people. It's just so amazing. So
wow. Thank you so much for saying all that. Sometimes you lose sight of everything you just said.
Yeah, you do.
The career is so up and down.
Yeah.
And like I think I had told you the other night, the highs are so high and the
lows
are
are
so
so
low. And so you just saying that right now really just, you sometimes you need to hear that and
You
put
do.
things into perspective. Like, hey, I'm doing okay.
You're doing great. I mean, blown away.
Thank you.
I was, it's. I don't think people have any idea how difficult it is to get to the point to where you're on that stage today. You're being paid. You were hired. You were chosen. You were chosen by not only by the agent, but by the people that booked the gig to be in front of their crowd on their July 4th setting.
Yeah.
How did you get that good? How did you get those songs? So now Sofie also has a record coming out.
I do.
You have an EP.
Yep. I have an EP. I have a bunch of singles I've been releasing this year. And then I'm doing something really fun, actually. I don't even think I mentioned this to you. So with my YouTube channel, which is just Sofie Lynn, I post a new video.
Spell it, because it's Sofie.
Right, Sofie with an F. My parents wanted to be different.
Right, and it's Lynn.
Lynn, two N's. Yep.
Lynn.
Just to trip you up a little bit more.
Thank you.
But I post a new song every week, new original song every week. And then every month I have my friends and family and fans and followers pick which song was their favorite, and then whatever song gets picked, that's gonna end up on the record. So
That's kind of amazing.
yeah,
That is seriously kind of amazing.
12 songs for the year.
And so she said another thing, a new song every week. All right, come on, all you musicians out there, you producing a new song every week? Are you writing a new song every week? Sofie Lynn is.
It's just what I like to do. It's
Sofie,
a blast.
Please give us how to get to your Instagram, your YouTube, everything. I want to make sure that people find your music and,
Absolutely.
and follow your career.
Find me anywhere at I am Sofie Lynn, and that's Sofie with an F and Lynn with 2 N's.
Beautiful. Sofie Lynn, I hope you are blessed with a long and fruitful career. And,
Thank you.
Please, guys, check her out. Follow her. Her songs are great. You're going to love her guitar playing and her singing as well. Her singing is fantastic, but it's being a guitarist, I kind of super dig that guitar playing.
That's a big compliment coming from you. Thank you so much.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners?
If you want to be on this journey, just do it. Just make the jump and do it. I believe in you guys.
The Journeyman guitarist, John Wesley, signing out with Sofie Lynn and Mark Prater back there.
Thank you so much for having me. This is
thank you.
awesome.
This is fantastic.
This was so great.
Take care. Thank you.